It's Maria, and I'm doing another Forgiveness to Love video, and it's number 54, and it's called The Balancing of Energies and the Inevitability of Karma. And so this is, these are, what I'm telling you in this one is they're more story-like incidents. And so here we're talking about the unconsciousness that has been veiling human beings since their creation. And now is the time to lift the veil. It's almost the time of like peeling an onion, to transcend limitations. Don't you think? I think it's about time, actually. I think it's the perfect time now. And so now's the time to open our eyes and to open our hearts and breathe in the divine. And although I speak for myself, I know that very many resonate with this message. And so I'll keep it in first person. Yet really we're all first person, right? So we're in the process of evolving beyond anything we could have ever imagined. And we're in the process of pushing the envelope and be immersed in a sea of infinite possibilities. Because no more will it be acceptable to pummel the opponent, be it in litigation or in really in any facet of life. It's we're learning that it's not a winner and a loser. It has to be everybody's a winner. And only from there, then everybody's happy and everyone learns to share. It's almost like the what do they call it? The terrible twos, because the child doesn't know any better. And so the child just says, mine, 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 and doesn't want to share. But as they grow up, they learn that if they share, then others will share with them. And so it's a cooperative effort. And that's like human beings are acting like children. And so it's always been, I'm going to win and I want it bigger and better. But in fact, you can learn to share and everybody can win. And then everybody walks away from the bargaining table happy. Or certainly at least not furious and despondent at the loss. So anyway, for me, the dark has been blocking my destiny and doing black magic and confusion spells and money spells and death spells and other nefarious activities. At least this is what I have been told. And so much of what I share with you are things that in fact I have been made aware of by others. And to those people, I thank them from the bottom of my heart, because it has allowed me to have a much better understanding of what's going on out in the world. And so I consider those people my little angels. In terms of all of those spells and all of the negative energy that is projected toward us, we have to understand that in fact that negative energy boomerangs back to the sender, right? And so they have wanted many of us to crumble, yes, and in terror or in mental illness or whatever it is, to slow us down and to have us retreat and not speak our truth on these platforms. And think about it, 20 years ago, would we be hearing about all of this? I don't think so. But it's the jealousy and the revenge. It's the spying and the focusing on destroying another. It's the anger and the obsession to steal our gifts, to delay our path, to selfishly blame us for their own misery and their own addictions and their own limiting beliefs that have kept them in karmic cycles where they stay stuck and they can't outgrow the superficiality of their lives and the lack of empathy for their targets. But you see, it's all on them. The interesting part of this dark fixation is that it's in the subconscious programming. before it ever exhibits itself in physical reality. So we have no idea. They were unleashing energies that were bubbling over in a toxic cesspool to be flushed. Little did I know or ever imagine that although sibling changed the locks to my home, so as far as I was concerned, she was an obvious, crazed adversary, right? A dirty thief. A hate-filled enemy, right? To both my friend from Brazil, who was really a California guy, and myself. She'd worm her way into his life, initially to spite me, but then she was drunk on the high of revenge that she laughed, and it's only because I've known her all her life that I feel comfortable saying this. And of course, this is my impression. Haha, he's mine now. And all those years that I secretly hated you, I was jealous of everything about you. But now I win. And remember, I hated mom and dad. I got rid of them. I hate you, and I'll get rid of you too. Because here's just the appetizer. Yes, somehow there would be tests for all parties involved. Due to the gang stalking, the monitoring, the following, the physical and electronic surveillance, the blockages to our making a living, the threats, the abuse, my friend's near nervous breakdown. Yes, California guy ultimately ran as fast and as far as he could after we used up all my money and he left, and I even gave him my car. I felt so guilty that actually one of my relatives could have treated me and my friend in such a heinous way. Of course, I'll tell you then what goes on. In any event, he established himself in France for a safe hideaway. I can't say I blame him. He married and he started over. The question was, would he run and continue to allow sibling to run right over him? Or would he find the strength to stand up for himself, stop her, and finally break free? Because she had all of our things, including his. It was quite the test. He chose to not only be run over, but flattened like a French crepe. Now by both sibling and the new wife. And I have never met her. I only hear what I hear. And this is all hearsay. And I heard the two work together to destroy what was left of him. On the one hand, on the other hand, they were in a relationship. For the last 10 years, California guy and I occasionally communicated and saw one another rarely when he would visit the U.S. Our interactions became progressively confrontational, and unbeknownst to me, and I suppose his wife and others, many others, sibling actually invited him to Florida from Washington, which was his U.S. base, where he would live with an older woman who he had done some construction work for. And this older woman had no family and kind of dangled this carrot in front of him. I'll leave you my estate if you live here and take care of me. And she was morbidly obese, and she had a hoarding issue. And so and she wanted him to be like her trainer and to go shopping for her and to do this and to do that. And so he had to play that one very carefully. So during the last 10 years, his behavior toward me had become very hurtful and even malicious. It was over the top, mean, and spiteful. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I could feel he was sleeping with the enemy, despite my belief in anything being so utterly repulsive. But I couldn't imagine anyone in their right mind doing that, doing anything so utterly stupid, because I had this vision of God putting him, shaking his hand and saying, "You have to go sit in the corner and put on that dunce cap," because first of all, it was almost like incense, like incest, and it was, and she had taken our home and put us both out on the street, closed all my financial accounts, stole everything we had. And although the betrayal deeply saddened me, I knew that was my lesson. And it was to open my eyes to the truth of the dysfunction of those around me and even in my family. Oh my gosh. But so I had to see it from a higher perspective, because the vantage point for her thieving was envy if I looked at it on the physical level. And on the high, and I also, there was no conscience, no morals, no scruples or shame. And I felt like I was the observer in the cuckoo's nest, right? But what I've learned since is that despite seemingly painful situations, the earth is home for the self-destructing. We are surrounded by opportunities to learn lessons, and self-love is seriously lacking in those who would consider, even consider, yes, harming another. So I observe the dysfunction in all the relationships involved, be it between partners, siblings, in-laws, parents, children, co-workers, family, even acquaintances and strangers. And it all boils down to, when we truly love ourselves, we would never compromise ourselves, much less betray ourselves or others. And it's only when we don't know our value that we'd sell ourselves so short and fall prey to the darkness. And it's precisely this lesson in self-love that we're here to learn. Can you imagine it being so simple and yet so elusive? And most people are born and die, and they've never mastered that one lesson, that they've had hundreds, if not thousands, of opportunities during that one lifetime to figure that out. Oh gosh, sometimes you just go, oh, I don't know. It's pretty funny. Some of us learn it and some of us don't. Yet we have opportunities each and every day, all day long. And so people come into our lives to help teach us this. And they have different faces, different bodies, but the crazy behavior is still the same. And so we have to learn, despite what's going on around us, we have to learn to love ourselves. And it's only when we love ourselves are we able to forgive ourselves, and then we can love others and forgive others. So manipulation among human beings is rampant. Yet with discernment, we can override being the pawns of others. And that's what it really boils down to. When we feel that we are being used by others, it's because we are allowing it. And why are we allowing it? Because we don't have enough self-love to put a stop to it. And we release attachments to toxic people, places, and things and situations. When we know our value, we know our worth, and nothing and no one can tempt us. Certainly not demonic energy or dark energy, or however you'd like to call the absence of light, right? And so people have sold their soul for less, believe me. But when we stand in our power, and each and every day we become more of who we truly are, which is divinity expressed, we see the world through the eyes of love. And that's such a beautiful thing, because we stop, we look, and we listen to the sounds of silence. and the roar of the wild. We see the crowds of human beings who are lost and simply cannot find their way without sacrificing themselves in a bottomless pit of people pleasing, and then scraping the bottom of the barrel in search for the elusive price tag of their soul. Can you believe that? There are always hedonistic displays of sex to control another, to remind us of the animalistic nature of lower consciousness beings, where man's discernment and sensibilities are simply non-existent. Yes. Yet, what we do know is that despite the camouflage, everywhere we look, there are opportunities for growth and opportunities for human beings to awaken. And of course, those opportunities are most often catalyzed per Aristotle. Do you remember what he said? He said, pain and suffering is how we grow. I don't remember the exact quote now, but it's, we grow through pain and suffering. We've all heard about those tragic situations arising when a little child passes due to an illness or an accident, and this child came to earth to be a teacher for all who have known them. And, many would say, this is so unfair. That child did not need to miss out on a beautiful life at such an early age. Yet that one child's path can precipitate a higher level of understanding in the many, many lives he touched, and highlight the interconnectedness of all the souls around him. So I want this to be short and sweet, and for you to watch it over and over again in case there are things that you might want to hear again and see if you can gain a better understanding the second time or the third time. I love repetition. Anyway, the continuation of this is going to be in the next one, in number 55. And it's called The Balancing of Energies Part 2. So until next time, keep growing, keep expanding, and stand firm in your power. And remember, I love you. Bye. Good night.